Welcome to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, the show where you get the inside access to the best minds in the game. Each week, Chris has the privilege of chatting with top instructors, legendary players, course architects, and industry insiders. If you're looking to improve your game, gain a new perspective, or just hear some incredible golf stories, you are indeed in the right place.
You see, Chris, let me tell you something. I haven't spoken to a press man in my life that is knowledgeable, seriously, as you are. Never.
You do such a great job. It kind of makes me feel good all of a sudden.
You do so much for the game. You're so kind to all of us that are out there in the game. You know, we need more people like you in the game of golf.
Thank you for pressing play. Now, grab your clubs, step up to the tee, and let's get started. This is Next on the Tee.
Hi, folks, and welcome into this edition of Next on the Tee, where golf legends live and your game gets better. I'm your host, Chris Mascaro, and as always, a huge dose of vitamin G for you being here and for pressing play on this episode of the show. What I have in store for you today feels a little different in the best way possible because this episode is all about gratitude. Gratitude for the incredible game that we have. Gratitude for the friendships that it creates and the opportunity to spend more time with those friends. Gratitude for the partnerships that come out of this game. And most importantly, like I say, gratitude for you for making this show a part of your weekly golf content. I know I say that all the time, but look, it comes from the heart because there's a lot of ways that you can be spending your valuable time. A lot of golf podcasts out there that you could be listening to. The fact that you choose to spend your time here with me and my guests means more than I could ever possibly put into words. So huge gratitude to you. As my way of saying thank you for all of that, I've got three amazing people joining me in this episode who embody the same spirit of gratitude that I mentioned a moment ago. And you're not only going to hear it, you're going to feel it coming from them throughout this show. Kicking things off, as always, is our resident director of instruction, Mr. Short Game, Tom Patri. His passion, honesty, and heart are on full display in this episode of the show. And plus, based on your feedback and your requests, we kind of flip things, if you will. We start things off by getting tips from him immediately that you can take right to the golf course or the driving range with you. From there, you're going to hear why Masters Week is Tom and my favorite week of the year. TP shares his thoughts on when to play smart and when you need to let it loose in a tournament. Now, we frame that around the Masters, but you'll get the drift as we have that conversation. We finish up talking a little Seve, a little Fred Couples, and TP's favorite Masters tournaments moments. Following him, we're going to be joined like we are every single month by the confidence doctor, Dr. Bob Winters. He continues to remind us that the most important space in golf is that 6 inches between our ears. He shares some powerful thoughts about appreciation, perspective, and what it means to enjoy the journey. Plus, what the most important aspects are if you're about to play in a tournament, whether it's the Masters or one of your tournaments. Could be a member guest, it could be a member, could be your club championship. But what are the most important aspects to keep in mind when you've got a tournament like that coming up? Then I round out this show with someone who brings joy, creativity, and a whole lot of flavor to everything that she does, and that is Susan Irby. Susan reminds us that life and golf is meant to be enjoyed, savored, and shared with the people around us. More specifically, she helps us make smart decisions what we should be eating and what we should be drinking before and during our rounds of golf so that we can keep our energy up, stay focused, and look, spoiler alert, those things aren't hot dogs and beer. Plus, she shares some tips to how to eat right, but make that food taste so great you're going to not even think you're on a diet. She is absolutely fantastic. I know you're going to love her. That's how we'll round out this episode of the show. So we don't have just instruction. We don't have just mental game stuff for you. It's about connection. It's about people who lift us up, the moments that stick with us, and the gratitude that we carry for both of those things. So sit back, relax, and perhaps during this show, think about the people in your life who make this game and our lives so special, because we got a heavy dose of vitamin G about to come your way. One last thing before we get started. If you would do me a huge favor, wherever you're listening to this show right now, if you would take just a couple of seconds and subscribe to it. It would go a long way towards getting next on the tee in front of more wonderful golf enthusiasts just like you. Okay, you know I like to get things started shouting out the wonderful people that help to sponsor this show, starting with my great friends over at the Trib. TribLive.com is the leading news website in Western Pennsylvania, with news around the clock, Pittsburgh pro sports coverage, a high school sports network, and a podcast network, which is where you can find Next on the Tee. Bookmark TribLive.com or download the Trib Live app for free and stay up to date with the latest news from Western Pennsylvania and beyond. I also want to talk about our friends over at the Pittsburgh Brewing Company and Iron City Beer, a brand that I have loved my whole life and started drinking when I was 21 years old, of course. Whether you're a hacker or a scratcher, the secret to a successful day on the links is knowing when it's time to grab an iron, even if that means keeping it in the bag till the 19th hole. If it's been a while since you've reached for Pittsburgh staple beer, it's time to revisit Iron City. Thanks to their incredible new facility in Creighton, the best-tasting Iron City beer ever made is now available at a course near you. Iron City pairs well with any lie and sky and serves as a friendly reminder that there's always next round. And because it's never too early for chocolate, their double chocolate Bock is back for the season, and it's the perfect companion for a cozy winter evening. Check out all of their wonderful beers and their gift shop by going online to pittsburghbrewing.com. In golf, fast isn't a nice to have, fast is a necessity, and speed off the tee is where it all starts. That was precisely the thinking behind the all-new QI4D family of drivers from TaylorMade, our fastest, most fittable drivers. Built to meet the demands of the world's best players like Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Nelly Korda, and the rest of Team TaylorMade. The QI4D lineup was engineered to unlock the 4 dimensions of speed, starting with a multi-material driver head with enhanced aerodynamic shaping, combined with a faster face and our revolutionary React shaft system. The TaylorMade QI4D drivers are ready to extract every bit of speed from every golfer's unique swing profile. Our industry-leading adjustability and fitting unlocks it all. Watch the full story of QI4D, our quest to build the fastest, most fittable drivers, and unlock your newfound speed at TaylorMadeGolf.com/findingfast. Okay, now joining me from lovely Naples, Florida, is our Hall of Fame Director of Instruction, Tom Patri. You know Tom as a 2-time first-team All-American at Florida Southern and the Division II National Champion back in 1981. He's a Sunshine State Conference Hall of Famer, played all over the globe in the 80s from 1981 to 1988. He's been named Teacher of the Year everywhere he's been. He's a Golf Magazine Top 100 alumni instructor, and whose YouTube channel I believe we are trending now towards 500 free lessons waiting for you to help you play your best golf this season. And it's always a huge privilege to have him leading off the show with me here on Next on the Tee. Hey, TP, how are you, my friend? Tom, for our listeners who might be tuning in on their way to the golf course or to the practice range, I want to get a couple of playing lessons for them. You recently did a video on your Instagram pages about tempo and balance. You are also talking about how we all have a personal speed limit. When we try to go beyond that limit is when we lose our balance. Talk about what all of that means, what we need to do in order to maintain both of those things. Tom, from a standpoint of playing smart, how far back in the tournament would you need to be where you would say to yourself, I have to go all Arnold Palmer here on the back nine and make an all-out charge and be aggressive? How many shots back would you have to be to say that to yourself versus knowing there's potentially tragedy waiting there for the leaders? We've seen legends like Tom Weiskopf make a 13 on 12. We all know what happened to Jordan Spieth on 12 back in 2016. We saw Sergio take a 13 on the 15th hole in 2018. How do you get your mind wrapped around balancing between being aggressive and being patient, knowing that the foursomes behind you could have a train wreck on any one of those holes? TB, I'm gonna flip the show, or at least our segment, together this time around because our listeners are asking for, of course, more Tom Patri, but more Tom Patri playing lessons. They're looking to play a little bit better. Golf season getting underway, getting a little hot down there in Florida, so things are really starting to heat up they want more Tom Patri playing lessons. So we're going to give them what they're asking for.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
You right? You're good? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
Can I,
for
ask, can, I,
those,
can I ask one question first?
if you feel like you have to,
Just one.
okay.
Have you seen the standings in the American League East?
I have not, because it's hockey season and golf season. I don't know what you're talking about. Baseball. No time for baseball. Hockey and golf season.
Oh, you're beautiful. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So for people that are out there on their way to the golf course, or maybe they're headed to the practice range and getting ready for the weekend that's coming up, I want to give them some lessons. I know that you recently put out a video on your Instagram pages talking about tempo and balance, and how we all have a personal speed limit. And when we try to go beyond that speed limit is when we lose balance. Talk about what all of that means and what we need to do in order to maintain both.
I think they're kissing cousins. I think tempo and balance are directly related, Chris. I think that, like you said, I tag everybody with what I call a personal speed limit, a limit of speed that you can control the functions and movements of your body in a balanced manner. Because there's this thing, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Chris, called the sweet spot. And it's not very big. It's about maybe the size of a dime on the face of the club, and that's where you maximize efficiency from. Anything outside of that sweet spot changes probably the launch angle, the spin rate, and oftentimes the direction, and certainly the distance the ball travels. So that's kind of an optimal place. It's like getting the right date for the junior prom, if you will. Without that, you just don't do very well. So when you exceed your speed limit, okay, it usually leads to a loss of balance. And when you lose your balance, you and the sweet spot are not friends. And I know that, Chris, often in your career, you and the sweet spot have not been friends. So I'm trying to help you, as well as all our listeners, understand that when you swing out of your shoes like a maniac, that's not the most efficient way to hit great golf shots.
Okay. So how do we end up with more shots in that sweet spot? I mean, how do we get there? I mean, I get that the distance and direction and all that is impacted by face and path and all that sort of thing. But how do we get that center of the face shot more often?
Okay, so I'll say to somebody, for example, let's say I have a fairly decent player in front of me. So, a guy that can walk and chew gum.
So someone like me.
Well, not exactly. But anyway, we'll use you. So I say to this person, how far do you hit, Chris? How far do you hit a 7-iron?
It'll land, it'll fly 150, roll out to about 155.
Okay. So I said, do me a favor. I'm going to give you a great benefit here. I want you to take that 7-iron and tee the ball up like you're on a par 3. Give yourself the most beautiful lie you could possibly give yourself. Just a nice little tee peg, in front of you. And do me a favor. I want you to hit a 140-yard 7-iron. And generally what happens when I ask them to do that is the first couple of swings, they chunk it, they top it, they hit it offline, because they really can't coordinate a requested speed limit, if you will. I'll say, let's keep doing this. And then all of a sudden, about 4 or 5 swings in, you start making a little bit better contact. And by the way, while this is going on, unbeknownst to you, I have TrackMan running, okay, recording data. And all of a sudden you start hitting these really wonderfully solid shots. And I said, that's your 140-yard swing, right? And they go, yeah, that's my 140-yard swing. And I look over at the schematic on TrackMan, and the little dot that records face location is right in the middle of the face. And it didn't go 155, it went about 161. And you go, no, that's impossible. That's impossible. No, when it comes out of the club face in the center, it tends to go very far. But I wasn't really swinging it very hard. No, but you made center face contact because I dumbed down your speed. You got in a little bit more balanced motion sequence. You found the middle of the face, and you became very efficient all of a sudden. Goodness, isn't that a wonderful story, Chris?
Indeed, it is. But let's take that a step further, Tom, because
let's do that. Let's take that a step further, Chris.
One of the other things that we tend to struggle with is there's a pretty big gap in loft and how far we can hit a pitching wedge versus a gap wedge. And a lot of times we find ourselves with that in between distance. So we either have a decision to make. I'm either going to stand on a gap wedge or I'm going to try to back off on a pitching wedge. Walk us through, how should we be approaching that shot? What should we be thinking in order to hit that shot successfully?
Okay, so first things first. If we went to the range and you said to me, Tom, how far do you hit a stock pitching wedge? I'd say, Chris, my stock pitching wedge goes about 125, which is about what it goes right now. Okay. So they said, well, you hit it 125 on the golf course. I said, never. They go, what do you mean, never? I go, no, on the golf course, it's about a 118, a 116 club max. What do you mean? I said, I don't hit scoring clubs at maximum speed ever. Why is that, Tom? Well, I'm trying to control contact quality. I'm trying to control balance. I'm trying to control spin rates. I'm trying to control the window that ball launches through every time. I'm trying to control trajectory. Okay. So I don't max out. What about a gap wedge or a sand wedge? Same thing, Chris. I don't max out my sand wedge full out. Full out is about a 105-yard club. On the golf course, it's about a 90-yard club. Okay. So I just dial that back. I put a little bit in reserve because I want to control the quality of contact, the spin rate, the trajectory, okay, every single time. Because when I do that and I make that kind of contact, when the ball lands on the green, what do you think it does, Chris?
I think it stops.
That's correct, Chris. You're 2 for 2 tonight. Very good.
Look
Very
at me.
good.
Look at me go.
Just a quintessential Red Sox fan. Always right. Always right.
All right. So is that the same game plan we should have up and down the bag? I mean, we can kill it out on the practice range all we want, but if we're going to go out and play around, we should probably, in order to get, again, center face contact, should we be trying to dial it back and play 80% of whatever if we're going to be on the range and we can hit it as far as we want? Do we dial it back to 80%?
Yeah, let's call it 85%. But here's the deal. I think that the average player out there listening to us tonight would be served well if there was always, according to them individually, a little bit in reserve. Okay. But here's how you have to do that. You don't learn that on the golf course. You go to a range, you get a rangefinder, you shoot a target. Let's say you shoot a target that's 145 yards away. And normally you might hit I'm going to make this up, a 9-iron to that target. Let's hit some 8-irons to that target until we can hit solid shots that come out of the middle of the face more often, come out of the same window every time, okay, and find the same carry distance every time. But most people go to the range and they practice full swings at full speed. Well, on a range, which is the biggest fairway in America, doesn't resemble the fairway on the golf course or the size of a green on the golf course. First of all, people don't generally practice to a target. They practice to an area. The last I looked, Chris, the target we're playing to is 4.5 inches wide. It's called the cup. And I remember Koepka made a smart-ass remark with a reporter a couple of years ago. They said, how often do you hit a perfect shot? And he said, well, I miss every shot I hit. They go, what do you mean? He goes, well, I'm aiming at the cup. I don't hold it very often, so I must be missing every single one I swing at because I'm always aiming at the cup, and it never seems to win, or at least not very often. So aim small, miss small, aim big, miss big. So you got to get the ball to come out of the middle of the face. That's you're striving for. You're not striving for maximum distance. You're not you're not trying to kill Kunga. You're trying to make the ball come out of the center of the face, and whatever speed or tempo you have to do that at to make that happen, I think that would be great advice.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
It's obviously Masters Week, and I think I can speak for both of us that this is our favorite week of the year. So now that we are getting into the beginning of that week, what excites you about this year's Masters?
Chris, the same thing excites me every year. And we've known each other a long time now, and you know a little bit of what makes me tick, and golf history makes me tick. So to me, I have great reverence for that event because of my great respect for Bobby Jones and what he did and how he affected the cradle of golf, if you will, or the birthplace of golf in this country, at least, and what really turned people on for the first time in this country. It's in the same location every year. It's the same golf holes we watch. You think it become boring. It never becomes boring, ever. What we said off air today, the tournament begins on the back nine on Sunday. Anybody that's a golf fan can close their eyes and picture 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 without even blinking an eye. We can remember great shots for hitting any of those holes. We can remember disasters on any of those holes. That that memory of that Masters, at least for me, and I know for you too, is burned into our memory. Things that happen on those holes, Freddie stopping on the bank on 12. Raymond Floyd hitting that pull hook into the water left on 11 when he seemed to be in control of what he was doing. Larry Mize's chip in on 11. The bomb that Crenshaw made on 10. I mean, we can go on. You can name one on every single hole, right? I mean, we can do that. And that tournament is so special in that regard. It just leaves us with these lasting memories that we never seem to forget ever. And don't ask me exactly why that is, but that it just holds a special place, I think, in your heart, in my heart, and so many golf fans' hearts, and certainly in the history of this game's heart. It's just different. It's just my second favorite is the British, but it rotates. It goes different places. The Open Championship, if you will, it rotates, right? And we remember great things that happened at St. Andrews, but we remember great things that happened at Carnoustie or Royal Lytham and St. Anne's. But at Augusta, it's the same place every year. It's those same shots. That shot Phil hit from the pine store around that pine tree onto the green. It was unbelievable. I mean, how did he do that at that situation? Those things just never leave us. The bunker shot that Sandy Lyle hit on 18 out of the fairway bunker to win. I mean, we just don't forget those things about this place.
So do you have a favorite hole?
Yeah, 1 through 18. But that's a great question. Do I have a favorite hole? I mean, do I have holes that I get that hyper glue me to the TV? Yeah, the tee shot on 12 certainly glues me to the TV. Both second shots on 13 and 15 glue me to the TV. I think the second shot on 11 glues me to the TV. The second shot on 2 glues me to the TV. There's so many great. The green on 5 glues me to the TV. How many? I mean, it's just forever. It's just so awesome. And you and I have both been there live. I always have this empty feeling when I don't get to go, and I've only gone, I guess, 5 times or 6 times in my life. And some people are saying, "Oh, Tom, only." But I wish I could go every. It's one thing I would never get tired of doing, going and walking that property.
Except for the 2 times you were invited to go and you didn't go.
Oh, I don't want to talk about that. You want to talk about the Red Sox? I'll tell that story if you'll talk about the Red Sox. It's just as painful, trust me.
No doubt. And you mentioned 12 and disasters, and I've talked to several players over the years about the 12th hole, and part of my conversation that I just had with Gary Player the other day was about that. And we all know the traditional pin placement on Sunday. They're on the front right of the green, and it's kind of a sucker pin, as I like to call it, because everybody knows when you get onto that tee, especially on Sunday, the play is over the bunker to the middle of the green. If you happen to hole a long putt, great. Take your 2 putts and go on to the 13th tee. But as I've talked to those players, they all know that. But the pin looks so inviting. It looks so close. Looks like such an easy shot that even when they're over the ball, they're thinking over the sand trap. But as they're on the downswing, they end up trying to hit it to that pin. And so often, just like we saw in 2019, right? 4 leaders, 4 of the greatest players in the world, all put it into Rae's Creek. They just can't help themselves. It baffles me, Tom, how they sucker you into trying for that pin, even though you should have no parts of it.
I think, Chris, some of those shots are, as you described, or just, guys getting greedy, if you will, and thinking they're Superman. But I also think some of those shots that are blocked to the right and short are what I call stalls in the golf swing, or a deceleration where you're just trying to almost wish it on the green when you got to be committed to the shot. I mean, I'll tell a great story about a similar situation, and I'll come back to 12. I stayed with Freddie Couples at 84 when he won the TPC. And if you remember back then, anybody remembers back then, he had won one tournament up until that time, and he was paired in the last round with Watson and Seve Ballesteros. He was in the deep end of the pool, and in front of him was Trevino and Stadler. And I was walking that day, running around. We were staying together, and I was so happy, so blessed to be part of that walk that Sunday. And he got up on 17 with I believe a 1-shot or a 2-shot lead at that point. I got to remember what it was. I think it was only 1. And, and he's, you're scared to death on 17, just get it on land somewhere. And the pin was in that typical back right location on 17 at TPC. And he hit it in there about 5 feet and made it. And we went to the press room after he got done to do the press interview. And I said, "Are you out of your freaking mind going at that pin on 17? He goes, "Tom, I blocked that thing 50 feet. I was aiming 50 feet left in that pin." And I was so scared. I stalled and blocked it 50 feet, and it looked so good. But I promise you, I wasn't aiming at that pin. And I think that's the same thing that happens on 12 sometimes. They're trying to hit it over the bunker, but they're kind of frozen, and they get kind of stalled in their golf swing. And next thing you know, the face is still open. That ball's sailing to the right, and as soon as it leaves the club face, they know what's going to happen. It's one of those holes that you have to be so committed. It's not you've been there. That's a very small target. That green is not very big, and certainly the front right of that green is not very big, and that bank is very severe. And you just mishit that golf ball just a little bit, and it's doomsday. Right?
Yeah, it's in Rays Creek.
Right. It's not. You're done. Have a nice day. Might as well sign a scorecard and go ahead, and you're done. Your sandwich is cooked. Take it up and take it on in.
Moving back a hole to number 11, Ben Hogan used to say, if you see me on the green and 2 on 11, you know I pulled my second shot. He was always looking to be just right of that green and 2, and we know it's called Amen Corner for a reason. If the play is to get up and down from the right side of the green on 11 and to hit it into the middle green on 12 and take your 2 putts and move on, how do you teach players who are so used to being aggressive, so used to being pin hunters? How do you teach them to dial it down, particularly in that area? So you're dialing it down, and then you're trying to be aggressive on 13, but you're dialing it down on 14, be aggressive on 15. Be very careful. Let's say, there's such strategy, but these guys are used to just being so aggressive. But being overly aggressive there at Augusta National, to your point, can get you out of the tournament in a hurry.
Well, I think if we go back historically, how many people have won the Masters on their first visit? Is it one? Is it Fuzzy?
Fuzzy. I think that's it.
That's it, right?
Yep.
So that speaks volumes. So that golf course, you have to have pain endure. You have to take some pain on to learn your lessons there. Very few guys learn their lesson the first time around, right? They endure some pain and they go, "I'm not going to do that again. I learned my lesson." So the one that surprised me the most on 11 all time was Raymond hitting it in the water left on 11 in the playoff. Larry Mize obviously inflicted some pain on Greg Norman from the right side of the green. And my only comment about 11 is every time I've been, Chris, I know you've been as many times as I have, I can't tell you how many guys I've seen practicing chipping from the right side of the 11th green. I mean, guys throw balls down to the right of the practice that little chip shot across that green to that left pin location. They know that they want to be over there, and they'll probably bail out on that hole more times than not. So they have to know how to pitch the ball from the right side of that green to a pin location. If you're, like Mr. Hogan said, if you see him on the green on 11, you know I pulled it. You have no business left of center at any point in your life on number 11 at Augusta.
And we'll be right back. You guys know what a fan I am of On Point Golf. Folks, get the number 1 ball marker in the game of golf. On Point is the only 3-dimensional ball marker with alignment technology and a removable coin. It is approved for use according to the rules of golf as defined by the USGA and the R&A. As we all know, putting is all about line and pace. Mark your ball with On Point, engage with your 3-dimensional ball marker, and have more confidence in your line, execute the putt, and lower your scores. Folks, with the likes of Jim Furyk, PGA professionals, and amateurs alike out there using them now, it's the number 1 ball marker in golf that actually helps you lower your scores. Go online to onpointgolf.us, read about the science behind it, then put one in your bag and make more putts. I feel like it's the 15th club in my bag. It's helped my game. Why wouldn't you let On Point help yours as well? Again, onpointgolf.us. Check them out and get one in your bag today.
PGA Tour Superstore pros aren't born. They're made. Every January, hundreds of associates talk to the top manufacturers, learn about the latest clubs, test the newest equipment, logged thousands of hours of training, and together hit over 100,000 balls, all so they can get you the perfect fit.
Now let's get back to the show. From a smart play standpoint, how far back in the tournament would you need to be where you would say to yourself, I have to go all Arnold Palmer here on the back nine and make a crazy charge and be aggressive? How many shots back would you say to yourself, I need to do that, versus there's a potential tragedy for these players? The leaders are behind me. If I go through here and I get too aggressive and play myself out of it, well, obviously I have no chance. But if I have a little bit of patience here, to your point, we've seen some of the greatest players of all time. We saw Tom Weiskopf make a 13 on 12. We know that what happened to Jordan Spieth in 2016. We know what Sergio did on the 15th hole back in 2018 when he made a 13 there. So we know tragedy can be out there, and we know that pressure on the back nine on Sunday, and we've seen some really great players like Greg Norman and Jordan Spieth give it all back. How do you decide where I should be and where I should charge and where I should be, you know what? Hey, if I can get it into the clubhouse and write down a number, get a score, there's still a really good chance these guys can fall back to me.
You know, I'd like to see the math on, and I don't know if it's available. You're my stat guy usually. How many times a guy stood on the 10th tee, four back, and if he shot 34 in the back nine, would have won, just 200. And we know those two par fives are very gettable, right? Very gettable. So how many times, I'd love to see the math on that. Anybody that's ever been four back on the 10th tee, if they had shot 34, just 2 under, would they have won? How many times would they have won? I'll bet you that's an interesting number.
Yeah, I bet it is too.
You know, so patience. You make 7 pars and 2 birdies, and your 2 birdies on the holes most likely to the 2 par fives, which are, by today's standard with those guys, very reachable with a middle iron, right? Very reachable. In some cases, they're hitting 7 and 8 irons in there now, which is ungodly, but they are. I wonder what the number would be like just shooting 34 from 4 back. How many times that would have been good enough to win?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can find that out, but I'd love to see that stat.
You've mentioned Seve and you've mentioned Fred Couples, 2 guys that you work with. You're obviously great friends with Freddie. Seve's a guy that you spend a lot of time around, and I know what a huge fan of his you are. Are their wins at the Masters tournament your favorites, or do you have others?
Well, I was there when Sarazen made the double eagle.
Well, of course you are. Don't be silly.
You know, that was another lifetime. You know, Chris, there's so many historically, unbelievable things, both good and bad. The Curtis Strange meltdown on Sunday, the Greg Norman meltdown on Sunday.
You like seeing the train wreck?
The train wrecks. Well, what if I think 50% of the people go to Daytona to see a wreck, not to see the winner.
That's probably a good association.
I'm sure the real hardcore fan wants to see the winner, but the knucklehead wants to see the train wreck, right? Not that I wish that on anybody. God knows I believe in the golf gods. I never wish bad on anybody on the golf course, no matter if I like them or don't like. Never in my life have I wished bad on anybody on the golf course ever. I think it comes back to bite you. I think there's the golf god that punishes you for doing that. But I mean, surely Freddie's win to me was very special because he's such a good friend, and Seve, Seve's wins were before I really was. Although I've always been a fan, before I really knew him personally. But looking back, now that he's gone, and we all miss him so much, because especially what he meant to me in my career. I go back and watch those Masters that he won, having now known him, and they're special for me to watch them. It means a lot to watch them to me. But I think Jack's win in '86, and not that I'm a huge Jack fan, because I'm not the biggest Jack fan in the world, although I have great respect for Jack. I think the win in '86 was incredibly historic. Incredibly historic. I think I'm not a big Jordan Spieth fan like you are, but the Spieth win was really fun to watch. I was there for that one with Denise. We followed that whole last round. I think there's so many great ones you can go back to. I think that Lyle win on that bunker shot in 18 out of that bunker to win was unbelievable. There's so many. I mean, you can't even. I don't know if you can pick one. I think if you had to pick one historically, it would be Jack in '86. That would be his history-wise. That would be the one that historically probably has the most reverence. But personally, for me, it would probably be Freddie's win.
We touched on this a little last time, but I'm going to give you an option to take a mulligan. Who do you like this week, and do you have a dark horse?
No, I'm going to stick with what I said. I think the obvious choice is Scheffler. Like you and I both feel that way, because I just think he's been out of form, but I think he gets into form when he has to, and I think it's tough to bet against him, but I think from a heart to heart standpoint and a wish, there's a couple. I mean, I'm a big Jason Day fan, a huge Jason Day fan. I think that,
You can't wear that outfit that they put out there and
no,
win the Masters.
I can promise you I won't be wearing it. I don't think you will either. If that at least, how can you not pull after what's happened to him for Justin Rose? I mean, one of the really good guys out there who's just was so close twice, and it'll be a great story in the late 40s to have him win that golf tournament. And I think the thing we have to touch on a little bit today is a guy named Gary Woodland.
Indeed.
And that recent win and what he's been going through, and the fact that he gets to go back there this week and be there, and what he's endured is just. And I don't know Gary Woodland, not even an ounce. I don't know him, never met him, never been near the man. But I am a huge Gary Woodland fan because of what even before the brain surgery, the way he behaved and treated people and the things he gave of himself, both to veterans, to the situation with that little girl in Phoenix. I mean, how can you not pull for Gary Woodland?
Yeah, 100%. How you talk about the golf gods a minute ago on more of a negative light, but on the opposite side of that, the golf gods, if they gave Gary Woodland a tremendous week and he was to walk away with a green jacket, how great would that be for that guy?
It'd be unbelievable. I mean, it would be crazy unbelievable. Green jacket or no green jacket, I will always be, because of what's gone on, a Gary Woodland fan.
And if you would marry a Masters win with a U.S. Open win at Pebble Beach, boy, that's pretty strong.
Yeah, it'd be pretty good, wouldn't it?
Yes,
pretty
it
good.
would.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
I was going to say, I know you're going to jump in front of me here as far as, tell people how they can find me. But before you do that, and I do this every week, but I want to get ahead of you this time on this one.
Uh-oh.
I went back. And I'm not a big podcast follower guy. I mean, I do this with you bi-weekly, but I don't listen to podcasts. I'm not a podcast guy. I don't get in the car and turn a podcast on like some guys do. But I recently went back and just skimmed over a half a dozen or a dozen of our shows going way back. And people come up to me now that I've, because I post our stuff, and the screenshots on all my social media platforms, and people now know that I'm on with you, and they tune in now, and I think a lot of people that I teach are tuning in now, and rightfully so. I'm glad they are, and they all make the same comment, because now they're tuning into you when I'm not on as well, which thank God. Who wants to listen to me? But they make a comment all the time. It's a kind of a universal comment of how well prepared Chris Mascaro is, how he treats his guests, the people he has on, the quality of the show, the quality of the interview, the quality of the questions, and who cares where to find Tom Patri on social media? They need to find Chris Mascaro on Next on the Tee on any of their podcasts that they can subscribe to or follow. The stuff that you do for me, for us, meaning people like me, people who do what I do for a living, the players that you revisit and the history that you tell is special.
Wow. That was really special of you to say, and I appreciate that very much. As you know, not only are you a bi-weekly contributor to the show, you're a tremendous individual, you're a great friend, and somebody that has meant so much to me and to the growth of this show over the years, partially like what you just mentioned, the people that you teach now listening in. But I think, like I was saying to you off air, why I flipped the script a little tonight, because typically we talk about what's going on around the game of golf and what's happening on tour and things of that nature, and you share your insights. And the reason why I wanted to get those playing lessons up front is because people are reaching out to me asking for more Tom Patri. They love Tom Patri and the things that we talk about, but they're also saying, hey, Tom's such a great instructor. Can I get more playing lessons from Tom into the early parts of your show? That's why we did that tonight. So kudos to you for bringing those people and for folks reaching out, asking for more of you.
Am I mistaken? And not that I want to flip the switch on you. Is a friend of mine on behind me tonight?
Yes, a really wonderful friend of both of ours is on behind you.
Can I say a little something about that?
Please do.
So, there are people that you come in contact with. Give me a second. Sorry about that.
Need to apologize.
That mean a lot to you in your career that don't always realize the effect they have on your craft. And the guy following me tonight is an example of that, as are you. And so many people have been kind enough, and I can name 20 of them right now who have done things for me in my career that have inspired me, that have educated me, that have mentored me, that have made me who I am. And Bob Winters and Chris Mascaro, two of those people. I gotta go. See you.
See you, Tom. That was obviously a very emotional Tom Patri. And look, you don't get much more real than what you just heard from TP. That's what I call a true dose of vitamin G, gratitude, passion, and a love for the game and the people around it. TP wears it on his sleeve. As I've said to you guys in the past, there isn't a better friend, there isn't a better mentor, there isn't a better coach out there than Tom Patri. He has a lot of loyalty and a lot of gratitude for the people that have got him from where he started out in this game to where he is today. So many people have had an impact on his career, just like they have for all of our careers. And Tom gets emotional and passionate about how much he appreciates people that have been an integral part of his life. And sometimes it comes out like that. And look, we're Italian, right? We wear it on our sleeve. Like I said a moment ago, we are very passionate people. And you'll hear that from Tom Patri. If you didn't think that was there, if you didn't know Tom the way that I have the privilege of knowing Tom, you may not be aware of that. You may be surprised about how it welled up in him. But that's who Tom Patri is. That's why you want to work with a guy like Tom Patri, a great individual and an emotional guy that's going to care an awful lot about you, about your game, about instructing you, and about getting you where you want to be in this game. I love that guy. Can't thank him enough. We'll catch up with him again in a couple of weeks. Coming up next is the Confidence Doctor, Dr. Bob Winters. He's going to help us with our mental approach and help us have more fun on the golf course. But before he does, let me remind you about the great things going on up at Macklemore. Because this year, get ready to experience a game like never before at the Keep, the brand new Bill Bergen and Reese Jones co-designed course at Macklemore. With its challenging layout and awe-inspiring views, every round here is an unforgettable adventure. Whether you're taking on the signature holes or just soaking in the scenery, the Keep is where your best golf meets nature's finest backdrop. So grab your clubs and join us up at Macklemore. The Keep is open, and it's waiting for you. And folks, if you haven't tried 2-under yet, you really need to. Why? Well, from the first tee to the clubhouse, 2-under's Joey Pouch is going to keep you comfortable and locked in all round or all day. Build your own bundle by going online to 2-under, that's the number 2, UNDR.com, and save up to 20%. All right, now back for his regular monthly visit with us is the Confidence Doctor, Dr. Bob Winters. As you know, Dr. Bob is our coach that helps us with our mental approach. He joins us every month to help us think differently, develop confidence, play smarter. You can find him down in Orlando at his Performance Enhancement Company or at the Ledbetter Golf Academy at the Reunion Resort. Dr. Bob is doing such a great job. Amazing work with his players, ranging from junior golfers all the way up to tour players. His players keep on winning. Just check out his Instagram page to see evidence of all the winning that goes on with the people that work with Dr. Bob. The list of winning players, winning tournaments grows each and every month. He is also a board member of the Next Tour, which is a feeder tour out on the Epson and LPGA tours, and it's an honor each and every time he is back with me to kick off a new month. Dr. Bob, how are you, my friend?
Chris, thank you so much. I tell you, I caught a little bit, of TP, of the wonderful Tom Patri, giving you and me such great tribute. And really, I'm almost speechless. And for me to be speechless, that's something right there. I just, what can you say about, someone like that who holds you in such high regard? And he's just a wonderful person. Like you've always said, he will give you the shirt off of his back, even if it had holes in it. I mean, he just puts it all out there.
Yes, he does. He's a special man.
He truly is. But I have been really good. This is Masters Week.
Yes.
I am so just so excited here for this week. So excited to talk to you. And it's unbelievable how excited I get here for the spring. So, this is it. This is the rite of passage. This is really what, I get ready for, every year. And it seems like it comes around a lot quicker as, my years go flying by on the calendar. And so tell me your thoughts about this week.
Oh, Doc, this is my favorite week of the entire year. I mean, I'm a Masters fanatic. I love the place. It's killing me, Doc, because this is the first year since 2001 I haven't been on the property. So I'm jonesing to be there. I'm missing it. It's just the most special place. And it's the most special tournament to me. There's nothing even close to it. As I've said to my wife, when I leave this earth, I want her to take my ashes and just a little bit, and not all of it, but take those ashes and find an azalea somewhere. It doesn't have to be out on the course proper, but as you know, there are azaleas all over that property. Find one that's kind of tucked in a corner. Take a sprinkle of the ashes, because that's how much that place means to me.
Well, it means, the same to me. And I hear all the stories from every great player and everyone that's ever, visited Augusta and Magnolia Lane, going down Magnolia Lane. I've been there. I've done that, been that, and I've done it so many times, but I can never do it enough. I never made it as a player. I made it as a sports psychologist, as a coach, as a consultant, many, many times with many great players. But once you get there, you realize, if this is a place on earth, how great, can heaven be? Because this really is heaven on earth, especially for golfers and even people who don't play golf. When they come onto the grounds, it's like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. It's so majestic. But the one thing that people who've never visited there or never had the opportunity, and God bless them, you just don't realize how spectacular, how expansive, and how rolling, I mean up and down it is. And I really wanted to kind of tell you a couple of stories here, Chris, before we even get into anything instructional. I wanted to tell you how I first got into golf, because it was my older brother, Bill Winters, who's 6 years older than me. He was in the United States Army, stationed at Fort Jackson in Columbia, South Carolina. And they would always give, some of the service, members, a couple hundred free passes to get into the Masters back then. And this was a long time ago. And my brother Bill went, on a weekend, and he was following, and he was walking up and down the hills. And all of a sudden he sees this one person coming over with his caddy. And this, gentleman was hitching up his pants. It was Arnold Palmer. And my brother told me he sees Arnie coming over this hill. And then maybe 10, 15 seconds after that, he said it looked like a mountain of ants people, thousands of people were following Arnie coming over these hills and coming down, the hills and the valleys to be, to see, Arnold Palmer. And he said from that moment, he said the Masters was his most favorite tournament. Arnie was, his hero, his king. And that's really where he hadn't played golf before. So he took up the game. And when he introduced me to the game, when I was younger, when I was about 13, 14, we started playing golf, and he was telling me about seeing Arnold and seeing all, the great players. But even right now, this week, my brother lives in Hawaii. He has dedicated this whole week to watch everything he can in front of his TV set. And he gets like his big bottles of Coke and his potato chips, and he is there for the whole week, and he is not to be bothered. I mean, he represents the millions and millions of people that love the Masters so much. And I can say this without fear of contradiction. My older brother, William Dale Winters Jr., Billy Boy, Willie the Wedge, who got me started. No one, and I mean no one on this planet, loves the game, can eat, sleep, drink golf like my brother Bill. And I don't know if I told you this, Chris. Billy plays a lot of golf. But did I tell you he has 35 holes in one?
No!
Yeah, he plays a lot of golf, and he's a great athlete. He was a fantastic athlete from our state of Indiana. He held a lot of records in batting and free throw percentage and field goal percentage for years. Has great eye-hand coordination. And I asked him one time, I said, Willie, when you get on a par 3, I said, what are you thinking about? Now, Chris, I have 9 holes in one. I'm not bragging. So when people say, wow, you've had 9 holes in one. And I go, yeah. And my first hole in one trophy was given to me by my hero, Arnold Palmer. And we can kind of get into that story here in a little bit. But I asked Billy, I said, what are you thinking about? Now, here's a guy who's a scratch player, probably about a 2 or 3 handicap right now. And he's, 78 years old. He can flat play. He has a very unorthodox swing, but he gets it done. He gets it in the hole. He gets the idea of playing golf. So I asked him, what are you thinking about every time you step up into the tee? And he goes, I'm thinking about the ball going to the hole. And it was just that simple. And I was thinking, what Jack Nicklaus is telling Trevor Immelman in an interview about, being the best pressure putter ever to maybe play other than Tiger. And Trevor said, are there any secrets? And Jack said, no, I'm just thinking about making it. And that simplicity, that, single-minded focus, it just really tells the brain to tell the body, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. And it's amazing when you actually just fall in love with your target and you believe the ball's going to the hole, how daggone close you can make it. And so he's done it. So I pay tribute, to my older brother for getting me involved in the game.
And we'll be right back. Golf season is back. We've got the Masters coming up, and the U.S. Open is out there on the horizon. And Sunday Swagger just made sure you're going to be ready. Their new spring collection just dropped. They've got 60 bold, performance-driven styles for men, women, and youth. And if all of that isn't enough, well, they just linked up with Pennzoil and Team Penske for a race-inspired collection that brings serious trackside energy to the fairways. With styles for men, women, and youth, you're guaranteed to turn heads and spark conversation when you wear Sunday Swagger. Visit sundayswagger.com, join the Sunday Club for exclusive drops and member benefits, and folks, Sunday Swagger is going to give you what? Polos with personality. Again, check them out online, sundayswagger.com. And folks, Squares Golf, best golf shoes on the planet by far. It's not a gimmick, it's not marketing, it's science. Don't take my word for it. Let's hear from 6-time major champion Sir Nick Faldo.
So Nick here. What if there was a golf shoe embraced by hundreds of thousands of golfers, celebrated for its stability, comfort, and distance? What if this shoe earned the title of most technologically advanced golf shoe by Sports Illustrated? And what if the company behind that shoe spent the last year perfecting a brand new category of golf footwear? Well, the what if is here. Introducing the all-new Pro S2 LT by Squares, a new class all of its own, the perfect blend of lightweight comfort and stable performance. You'll notice the difference. Change your shoes, change your game. Squares.
Now back to the show.
Before we even go anyplace tonight, today, while I was getting ready for a lot of, different things and getting ready for tonight's show, I was reading, Arnold's book, A Life, Well Lived. And I didn't know this, Chris, but I wanted to share the story with you because I don't think I've told our viewers and our listeners this before. But Arnold, his last competitive round, I think at Augusta was in 2004. Now, I think, the committee at Augusta asked him to be the honorary starter in 2007. So in 2007, Arnold, was the ceremonial starter, on Thursday morning. Now, that was April the 5th, 2007. It was the Thursday morning that Arnold Palmer, struck, the initial driver blow. But on April the 3rd, I got a call from my very good friend, Ron Jackson, who is one of the top, men in golf and really very powerful. And he calls me up and he calls me Sparky. He doesn't call me Dr. Bob or whatever. He calls me Sparky. He says, Sparky, he goes, listen, I've got a game for us this Friday. And I said, okay, because he knew I wasn't going to be at the Masters, because he knew I was going to have to stay in town because I was doing some filming on the weekend. And he said, I got a game for us this Friday. And I said, well, who are we playing with? He says, it's you, me, Dick Ferris, Joe Patterson, and Arnie. And I said, Arnie, we're going to play with Arnold. He goes, yeah. He goes, we're going to play an Arnold shootout on Friday at Bay Hill.
Wow.
And I thought, wow, okay. So as the week's going on, and I'm sort of watching Golf Channel because, I was a member of Golf Channel there for many years. And I'm seeing where Arnold's going to hit the ceremonial tee ball on Thursday morning. So this is one of the things that I love to do. And I think almost all golfers, to me, it's a religious, spiritual experience. I just love to see the opening tee shot. And whether it was Sam Snead in the old days or Gene Sarazen or even Gary, Jack, and Tom now, but I just love to see Arnold. But here in this morning, on April the 5th, I was watching, the ceremonial starter, and it was Arnold Palmer, and they introduced the four-time, Masters champion. Arnold Palmer, makes his return to really start us off, with a wonderful blow. And Arnold steps up there and he rips it in that Arnold style and that corkscrew style at the end. And he actually starts walking down the fairway like he's getting ready to play. And so I'm watching this, Chris, and it's so funny because I'm sitting here going, in about 22 hours, I'm going to be teeing up with the king. And I met him before, when I was younger, and one of my best friends was like his, financial people in his office there at Bay Hill. And so I would go in and visit, my good friend, and Arnie be in there, and I'd give him a thumbs up. But I was a student at the Arnold Palmer Golf Academy in 1971 at Stratton Mountain, Vermont. And I drove my car by myself. I was 17, going to be 18. I had graduated from high school. I drove from Indiana all the way up to Vermont. Took me 2 days to get there. Stratton Mountain, beautiful, ski facility, beautiful golf course. Jeffrey Cornish golf course there. So as soon as I got there to Stratton Mountain, Chris, I locked my keys inside the trunk of my car.
No.
Yeah, I locked my luggage, my bags. I had a Ball State t-shirt. That's where I went to school, Ball State University. I had some jeans on. I had a couple pair of underwear in the back, thank God. But I didn't have my golf shoes. I didn't have anything. And so I didn't want to pop open the trunk, or they didn't really have locksmiths up there where I didn't know. I called my parents. They said, well, we will mail you the keys and get them there as fast as we can, probably about 2 or 3 days. So I borrowed some clubs, and the first day we were on the Stratton Mountain Country Club, I borrowed clubs from a Yale golfer. His name was Bodie Marks. He was one of the counselors, young college instructors there at the Palmer Golf Academy. We had 125 boys from 12 to 17 years of age. And I took out his Ben Hogan, driver, his golf club, and we were playing the back tees of 215-yard par 3, I believe it's number 12. I mean, I have the trophy here. I have 2 trophies that Arnie gave me in my office. They're the only 2 trophies I have in my office. And so I step up and there's a foursome in front of us. They're on the green. They're waving us up. We're playing in a foursome. I step up there with this Titleist 3, number 3 golf ball that has Yale on it because Bodie was the captain of the Yale golf team. I stepped up there and I hit a great drive with this Ben Hogan driver, but it hit like the very front of the green, and because it was very, very uphill, and I was really small, Chris. I was only about 5'1" and 92 pounds. I mean, a big drive for me was 210 yards. So I got all of this, and it must have been divine intervention. That ball hits the front of that green, and I see the guys in front of the green start to jump up and down. The next thing you know, it was like, ah! I got a hole in one the very first day when I was there at the Arnold Palmer Golf Academy. And Arnold came 3 weeks later, and I ended up, winning the first flight of the Stratton Classic. And Arnold gave me a trophy for that. And then he looked at me, he goes, "You're Bobby Winters. You are the guy that made a hole in one with a driver the first day here?" And I said, "Yes." He goes, "I've never made a hole in one with the driver, Bob." He goes, "What does that feel like?" And I said, "Feels really great." He says, "I bet it does." And to this day, and so to get to the story, I digressed a little bit, but to get to the story, on April the 6th, that Good Friday before Easter, I meet Arnold, and I say hello to Arnold. He goes, "Hey, Bob," he said, and he looked at me, and he looked me in the eye, and his wife Kit was there, and I said, "Hi, how are you, Mrs. Palmer?" And he goes, "Hey, that's my wife. Be nice." I said, and I will. And I said, I definitely will. And he looks at me, he goes, and he looked me in the eye, Chris. And, Arnold is so, he's so overpowering, and and I love him to death. I mean, it's to me, he's my hero, and I'm getting to play with my hero again. And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he goes, "Are you ready to play?" And I said, "Yes, sir." "I am." He goes, "You damn well better be. I want to win this thing." I mean, he was so competitive, man. And it was like the general telling, the buck private, "Hey, we're going to go in and we're going to take this hill, okay?" And we stepped up there on the tee, and I got up there. And funny thing, I really wasn't nervous. I was more excited in a eustress, not distress, but a eustress, a wonderful sense of excitement. And I ripped it right down the middle, about 265 yards, maybe 270. I was pretty pumped up. And he looked at me and he said, "Well, at least we got one player that can play this game. Let's go." And so we're playing along here. And I think this is why, we talk about a life well lived. Well, that could be the title for my autobiography, because here I am, this little kid from the middle of the town in Indiana. I'm getting to play with my hero. And and I've seen him before, and he's seen me, and I'd been around Bay Hill, and I'd had a chance, and I'm really one of the very few people that really ever had a chance, to do, some work, with his grandson, with Sam Saunders, and Sam, and Roy and Amy Saunders, are just fantastic people there at Bay Hill, and I love Sam, and Sam was a hell of a player, and playing there in school, and then went to play for, Wake Forest. And I had a chance to work with him, and not many people other than, Grandpa Arnold had a chance to work with Sam. So I feel doubly blessed. But I remember we're on the 11th hole, Chris, and I think I'm 1 under for the day, or 2 under at that point. We're on number 11. I've got about a 15-foot downhill putt for birdie. Arnie right next to me. And we were playing with Ron Jackson, Dick Ferris, who was the former CEO of United Airlines, Joe Patterson, wonderful businessman from California, and Ron Jackson, my good friend, and Dr. Howdy Giles, who was Arnie's great friend and photographer and videographer. He was taking all these pictures of, this day. And this is the day right after Arnie, started, Augusta. And I think it might have been the 71st playing of Augusta National, the Masters. And so Arnold looks at me, Chris, in typical Arnold style. And he looks at me and he's going, "Bob," he goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "What do you mean? What am I doing?" He goes, "Hey, you're making putts." I want to know what you're doing. And I looked at him, I said, Arnie, I said, I'm doing exactly what you told me when I was your student at the Arnold Palmer Golf Academy when I was 17 years old. I'm doing it verbatim, right to the letter. And as Arnie did, he kind of stuck out his lower lip. He goes, well, what did I tell you? And I said, you told me to step into every putt, believing you could make that putt, having a really good read of where you want the ball to go, step in, keep your head and body still, and hit the putt solid. And he kind of paused for a second. He looked at me, and again, he stuck out that lower lip. He goes, I told you that? And I go, yeah, almost verbatim, word for word. He goes, I'd better start doing that. I said, yeah. I said, we've only got about 6 or 7 more holes, Arnie. It'd be a good time. and Chris, with God as my witness, and I know Ron would attest to this, to anybody to this day, Arnold made 4 putts from like 20 feet and in. And what most people don't know is that when Arnie, we were coming to the 17th green, and I know this for sure because Dick Ferris and Arnie, I made about a 20-footer on 17, that par 3 at Bay Hill. I made a 20-footer, and I rose my hand like Jack did in 1986. And Arnold and Dick Ferris both looked at me and go, hey, we're not going to have any of that Nicklaus stuff here. Come on, don't be doing that. And so I punched my hand. I kind of gave it a punch. I go, yeah, there we go. And Arnold go, that's more like it. But I think Arnold and Ron had a little match going on, and Arnold had to make a putt on the last hole, I think, for us to finish high or even win the thing. I was just so excited to play because it was one of the greatest days of my golfing life. Arnold steps up, makes the putt, and gives it he just gives it a jam. And I've talked about this in many of my the psychology of great putting seminars that I've given across the country. And I show this picture of Arnie coming off that green. He's got a grin and a smile like the Cheshire cat from ear to ear. He grabs me by the back, of the neck or the back of the shoulders, and he's a strong man. And he said, you know what, Bobby? He goes, they can talk everything they want about hitting 300-yard drives. He says, but nothing is better than making a winning putt. And I said, you know it. And so we had, the greatest day. But that, day right there, I was just kind of sitting here, and I didn't realize this until this morning, that, the day before we were play, that was his first time being the honorary starter for Augusta and the Masters. And I thought this was an apropos time to tell that story.
Yeah, it is. Thank you so much for sharing all of that, Doc. That's fantastic stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty, it's pretty mind-boggling now as I think about it, how privileged I was. And then whenever, I would actually go to Bay Hill or see the people there, and I would see, Roy and Amy, and I'd see, Arnold, and, he'd look at me and see me, and then he'd touch his hair, because of my hair, because people who don't know me as Dr. Hair as well. And so he'd look at me, he'd go, looking good. And so it was just great to have a relationship, but I'm just one of the very humble millions that loved Arnold Palmer. And I cannot think, being a sports psychologist, I can't think of any other athlete in any other sport that was more beloved by people. I mean, of all sports, more than Arnold Palmer. I mean, they loved Jack Nicklaus. They respected Jack Nicklaus. They respect Tiger, for his skills and everything. But people just love Arnie, and
That's
people
why I had an army.
Oh my goodness gracious! And I tell you what, and I'd be one of those people, and I'd be willing to go to war with him tomorrow, right now.
Yep. Doc, before I let you go, remind our listeners how they can stay up to date with the great things that you're out there doing, whether they're doing it on your website or they're doing it on social media.
Well, they can get a hold of me. They can find me at theconfidencedoctor.com. They can actually find me at Instagram, Facebook under Dr. Robert Winters. And they can actually Google my name, Dr. Robert Winters, Dr. Bob Winters, and you can get a hold of me. I'm here in Orlando, Florida. But before I do go here, Chris, I also, again, really want to to thank you for all the opportunities you've given me, and for my great friend, Tom Patri, TP. I love you too, pal. And I just can't say enough good things about him and for you, because you've given me a chance. And I haven't got 132 sessions with you yet, Chris. But I tell you what, for you, I have 2 couches here, no waiting. We're going to do a lot more therapy for you as the time goes on. So I hope people enjoy some of these little tidbits, about Arnold. But I can tell you one thing. I told him that little putting secret, if you can think about that, it was one of the greatest teaching moments in my career, because I gave back to him what he gave me for so many years. And it has always worked for me. And if they listen to, what the instruction was, to keep that head still, to hit the putt solid, and to believe it's going in, I guarantee you've got 95% of putting licked right there.
No doubt. That is awesome. Doc, I can't thank you enough for all the things that you have meant to me in this show over the years. This was 27 times for you and me. I'm looking forward to number 28, my friend.
I am too. Have a fantastic Masters. And always remember, Chris, the moment you change your mind, you change your game. Thanks, buddy. See you soon.
See you, Doc. That is the great Dr. Bob Winters, folks. And again, what a great story, right? All that stuff about Mr. Palmer, right? And how great is it to make a hole-in-one and have Mr. Palmer give you the trophy, something that obviously Dr. Bob has treasured all these years. And why wouldn't you? That would be one of the 2 trophies I would have in my office as well. And look, great advice, right? How rewarding is it to make that winning putt and get up there, have a vision, knock that putt solid, believe it's going to go in, and guess what? A bunch of times, it's going to find the bottom of the cup. You can find Dr. Bob online at the confidencedoctor.com, and then on his Instagram pages and on Facebook at Dr. Bob Winters and Dr. Robert Winters. He is just a treasure, and I look forward to catching up with him. We'll talk again at the beginning of May. Coming up next is the Bikini Chef, Susan Irby. Can't wait to get into the conversation with Susan and all the things she's going to help us with from our diet perspective. But before she joins me, are you tired of boring golf clothes? Well, Sunday Swagger is changing the game with premium performance apparel that delivers the look and feel of $100 polos for much, much less, while never sacrificing style for comfort. Their bold polos, shorts, and outerwear feature 4-way stretch and moisture-wicking fabric that moves with you, whether you're crushing drives or crushing happy hour. With over 300 unique designs and vibrant colors ranging from bestsellers like Jawbreaker to exclusive collaborations with people like Guinness, Sunday Swagger offers something for everybody. And their matching prints for couples and families with children are flying off the shelves. You might even recognize some Sunday Swagger designs in popular Hollywood movies and TV shows, including Happy Gilmore 2. Sunday Swagger is guaranteed to turn heads and spark conversations. Visit SundaySwagger.com and join the Sunday Club for exclusive drops and member benefits. Sunday Swagger. It's your swagger. Embrace it. Own it. And I also want to remind you about our great friends over at 2 Under. 2 Under men's performance briefs are the unofficial underwear of the PGA, Ryder Cup, and President's Cup teams, and are sold in over 3,000 golf pro shops and golf specialty retailers nationwide. Ricky Fowler is their global ambassador, and over 50 other PGA, Korn Ferry, and Champions Tour players wear them. Just to mention a few, they are David Toms, Jerry Kelly, Justin Thomas, William McGirt, Scott McCarron, and Chris DeMarco. The Joey Pouch technology provides the ultimate male asset management, delivering maximum comfort from the tee box to the boardroom to the bedroom. Go to 2under.com to check out the bundle specials that offer substantial discounts for being a Next on the Tee listener. That's the number 2, UNDR.com. 2 Under, performance in your pants. I also want to give a shout out to our great friends over at Squares Golf.
So Nick here. What if there was a golf shoe embraced by hundreds of thousands of golfers, celebrated for its stability, comfort, and distance? What if this shoe earned the title of most technologically advanced golf shoe by Sports Illustrated? And what if the company behind that shoe spent the last year perfecting a brand new category of golf footwear? Well, the what if is here. Introducing the all-new Pro S2 LT by Squares, a new class all of its own. The perfect blend of lightweight comfort and stable performance. You'll notice the difference. Change your shoes, change your game. Squares.
Now back in Next on the Tee with me is a lady who brings a really unique blend of passion, expertise, and creativity to everything she does. Susan Irby is widely known as the Bikini Chef, but don't let that title fool you. This is about so much more than bikinis and great recipes. Susan has built an incredible brand around healthy living, smart nutrition, and making food both doable and fun. She's a television personality, an author, and a host who has inspired people across the country to rethink about how they fuel their bodies without sacrificing flavor. Key point there. She is also the person who got me drinking a fresh shot of fresh squeezed lemon juice first thing every morning. From her appearances on major networks to her own shows and cookbooks, she's helped make healthy eating something we can all actually do and stick to. One of the many things that I love about Susan is how she is connecting it all back to performance, energy, focus, and living your best life, which translates to what? Us feeling better and playing better out on the golf course. And I'm really excited I get to spend some more time with her this week here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Susan, how are you, my friend?
I'm fantastic. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing great, thank you. Happy Masters Week to you and to those who celebrate.
Yes. Well, I so enjoyed Dr. Winters and the stories. And I went to college at University of Georgia with Jack Nicklaus' daughter, Nan. So
wow.
She and I were in the same sorority. We did not golf together, but what a privilege to know. I mean, there's so many talented golfers, now and over the years, but that was kind of, not to date myself, it was kind of my era, right? The Jackson, the Arnolds, and
with ya.
Yeah, and where I live in San Juan Capistrano, California, just there's a very beautiful golf course right down the street from me, and I don't golf that much, but a lot of my friends are golfers. I mean, and they're just out there, if not every day, all the time. And I got to tell you, they're in great shape. They're not, they walk the course a lot of times, they do, but they just stay active, and it's a beautiful experience for them. And the golf courses are so relaxing, right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Susan, before we get into all the things that I want to talk with you about, first of all, I want to start off by giving you a huge congratulations. Your show, America's Next Bikini Chef, won an award at the Taste Awards for Guilty Addiction of the Year. You are also nominated in the Best Fitness and Health category, Best Series Plot, and Best Multi-Camera Production categories. What a tremendous honor. Good for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's still a work of love and work in progress. But it's very exciting. We're making a difference in people's lives, and really just getting people around the country and ultimately around the globe to just be more aware of not just what they put in their bodies, but staying active, right? And so I think that's it's all part of the lifestyle.
Like I mentioned in your intro, you have built a brand around healthy living that actually feels doable, which is very rare out there. Most people get things wrong. We dread a diet. We don't think that with the food that we can make can taste good. It kind of feels drab and all that sort of thing. But the things that you are out there creating and the things that you are showing on your website, in your cookbooks, those things look absolutely fantastic. Talk about making a diet something that we can actually stick to.
Well, it's exciting. You just choose your PFFs or your BFFs. And your PFFs are lean proteins, high fiber foods, healthy fats, and those are going to be your best friends forever. And it's really, I really don't do overly complicated dishes. My dishes are very simple, flavorful, and beautiful, right? My mother taught me, I think we spoke about this before, a colorful plate is a healthy plate. And the way I infuse flavors and deliciousness is by adding those colors, whether it's red bell pepper or tomatoes or sun-dried tomatoes, and then layers of fresh basil or cilantro, rosemary, thyme, and lemon. I'm so proud of you for your lemon shot.
I have you to thank.
Well, you're welcome. I hope you're really, really enjoying it. I guess you are, but I still do mine every morning. Sometimes I'll do 2 a days. I'll do 2.
Is that right?
Yeah, every now and then. Yeah. Yeah, it's so good for your immune system and your metabolism. And it's different than orange or lime. Lemon just has a very special quality to it. And I put a lot of lemon zest and lemon juice into my dishes, whether they're savory dishes or dessert dishes. It just gives that little oomph of flavor and brightness that brings out the other flavors in the foods that make the dish tasty, makes you want to eat it. So, yeah.
When you're talking with people, whether it's one-on-one like this or you're speaking to an audience, and we all hear the term healthy eating, what do most of us get wrong? What do we think is healthy eating, but we're actually mistaken about that?
You feel it's boring. You think healthy eating means that you can't eat a hamburger ever, or that it's not about what you cannot eat. It's about the majority of your food choices. So if you're going to have a steak, prefer a lean cut. I know a lot of people like ribeyes.
Yes.
I'm a filet mignon kind of girl. Try for the leaner cuts of meat and don't smother it with sauces, right? Or if you do smother it with a sauce, make it a red wine reduction, not necessarily a cream sauce. If you're going to go with chicken, grilled chicken, one of my most recent dishes that I did a video about and posted on social media platforms was my pesto chicken sandwich. So it's served on a whole wheat English muffin that's toasted. I make a delicious bikini basil pesto, and that is low fat, lower calorie, but it's delicious. And then I top it with diced up marinated red bell pepper. And of course, I put my lemon zest on there. It is incredible. It tastes great. You're not missing out on anything. You get the layers of texture and flavor. I think a lot of people, when they think of healthy eating, they think that it's going to be not just bland, but there's not going to be any texture to it, and the key to enjoying any dish, whether it's healthy for you or not, is those layers of textures. So you want something meaty, something crunchy, something a little smooth. And that's why when you go to a restaurant, you have all of the layers, you'll have a puree, you'll have your protein. So it goes back to lean protein, high fiber foods, and healthy fat.
Susan, since it is Masters Week, and we talked about this last time, but you are literally from right down the street from where my house is. But back in the day when you lived here, did you and the family, did you guys get into the Masters? Did you ever go to the tournament? And was any of that a part of your lives?
I never was able to attend the tournament. I would love to attend someday. I mean, just the course and the flowers, or just being there, is going to be just a supernatural experience. But I did have a lot of friends that played golf, did attend the Masters. I actually worked for Athens Banner Hill newspaper, and so our news reporters would go down and cover the Masters because it was in Athens, Georgia, which is not very far at all. So I never got to go, but it's an experience that I'm sure is out of this world.
It is indeed. One of my favorite things that I eat when I go to the tournament is the egg salad sandwich, my favorite of all of the different sandwiches. And you've got an egg salad nice recipe on your website that I'm very intrigued about. Talk about your recipe.
Egg salad, it can be anything you want it to be. So I just do layers, scrambled eggs. I put in some flax seeds or some chia seeds. They serve it with some avocado. One thing that I love to incorporate for all the cheese lovers out there, because I don't eat a lot of cheese, but one cheese that I do advocate is going to be goat cheese. It's easier to digest. So if you can want to fold in some of the goat cheese to that egg salad, I have a deviled egg recipe coming out soon where I do that. Chives are always good. How do you like your egg salad?
I can't make it, so let's start with that. But whatever they do at Augusta National is just phenomenal. I mean, I'm not a huge mustard guy, but I feel like it's got kind of a mustard seed kind of taste and mixed in with the egg salad. So I think they do it up right.
They do. Mustard is always a great ingredient to add. Again, it's a very bikini ingredient because it doesn't add calories and fat, right? But it adds a lot of flavor. You have to be a little careful with mustard that you don't get too much mustard. It can overpower your dish. But yeah, mustard is a wonderful metabolism booster. In my yummy egg salad, I do have mustard. I use actually the prepared mustard. A lot of people will say, what is prepared mustard? It's just like your bottled mustard at the it's not the Dijon style, it's the regular style. And I use a little bit of cumin. Cumin is one of my go-to spices along with turmeric and cardamom. And those just make for incredible flavorful spice blend. But I use a hint of cumin in this, and even little tiny pinches of spices like this help prevent or reduce inflammation, which is important when you're golfing.
Yes.
Right. So you might end up with some back inflammation, your joints. So anything that you can do to kind of reduce that inflammation is important, and a little cumin goes a long way.
Susan, we're all becoming more and more health conscious, even golfers. Now, traditionally, male golfers don't have the best bodies out there. What are the biggest nutrition mistakes that you see golfers like me making when we're playing a round of golf? Because traditionally, when we make the turn, we're reaching for a hot dog, we're grabbing a beer along the way. What should we have instead of that hot dog? What should we be drinking instead of that beer?
Well, just really quickly, in the egg salad recipe, I use watercress, and watercress is, so the greens like watercress, arugula, they actually have a natural water content to them, which is important. So instead of grabbing that hot dog that's going to maybe dehydrate you, try to find something that's on the cart. What do they typically have on your cart besides the hot dog?
Yeah, I mean, it's candy bars and crackers and stuff like that.
Okay, but maybe you could pack your own snacks, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So pack your own snacks, pack a lean protein bar. If you, a lot of guys and gals take their coolers with them, don't you? So,
yes.
So in your cooler, you can pack some deli turkey. I know this is going to sound really boring, but cucumbers and deli turkey, it's really good. Very refreshing. Doesn't sound very interesting, but I promise it is. It's going to give you more energy than that hot dog. So,
yes.
Yeah, but just in your regular diet, selecting, adding nutrients like we talked about, the turmeric, the cardamom, paprika, cayenne pepper is a metabolism boosting ingredient. Red bell peppers are anti-inflammatory ingredients, right? The mustard is great. And just sticking to the leaner proteins versus that hot dog, right? A hot dog's going to have a lot of fat, going to be served in a bun, which is going to be heavy on the starchy carbs. So that's going to weigh you down. It's going to zap your energy and make you feel bloated and sluggish. So if there's another sandwich, or if you could pack your own sandwich, on a whole grain bread or like one of the power seed breads with some lean protein. Like I said, I don't eat a lot of cheese, but if you're out there playing 18 holes, I know some people that played like 36 holes before. Okay, it's all right. You can have some cheese. But, and making sure, and honestly, also, well, if it's really a hot day, the dark chocolate might melt, but dark chocolate is really excellent for a quick energy boost. And it's also very good for, it has natural healing properties for it and the good fats, as we say. But you want to go for the dark chocolate versus the milk chocolate.
Susan, nowadays the weight loss drugs like Ozempic are everywhere, and everyone is looking to get on them for those of us that are trying to lose weight. But for the person that wants to try to do it a little more naturally or combine a better diet for weight loss with the things that we might be taking to help us as well, what are things that we need to do in order to adjust our diets and enhance our abilities to be more successful and to get our minds right around trying to lose weight?
I think it does begin in the mind, right? So you have to, you're not what you eat today. You're what you eat and drink day after day after day. And I feel it's important to just establish personally what your personal goals are. Is this how I want to feel? It's not even necessarily about the weight per se. It's how you feel, whether it's you want to lose 5 pounds, 12 pounds, 25 pounds, or more. It's do you have achy joints? Do you have back pain? Do your knees hurt? Are you tired all the time? Do you wear out? And you have to make a personal decision to say, is this the way I want to feel every single day? And it really starts with your own personal commitment and just feeling like, you know what, however old a person is, whether they're 25, 55, 85, right? It's, hey, I've had plenty of years living this life and I don't feel so great anymore. Or I'd really like to feel better when I wear this golf attire or this dress or this my khakis and button down shirt to my meeting. I want to look better. I want to feel better and more confident. So your guy, Dr. Winters, he's a confidence doctor, right? He would probably agree with this. You have to say, how many years of feeling not my best do I want to do that? And what changes can I make that are small changes? And it doesn't mean every day is going to be perfect, but it does mean that you can strive for a goal and you can say, you know what, I'm not going to have that. I'm not going to have that hot dog before the back nine. I'm going to choose the turkey salad sandwich, right? And I'm not going to choose the chip. I'm going to choose, sorry, but celery and carrots taste good and they're good for you. And they're easy to carry around. And trust me, once you get to the point of eating that, on a more regular basis, making those choices, it gets easier and easier to where the point is. And if you went back to that, you're not going to feel good. And you're like, wow, I forgot how good I feel. And I actually was interviewed by First for Women magazine several years ago. And I went through a lot, I'm not a perfect eater, and all of that, but it was, we all go through struggles. But the one of the title of the article was, I forgot that I could feel this good, So it's just getting back to the basics of the lean proteins, high fiber foods, healthy fats. You stick to those 3 key ingredients, whether you're making something at home or going out to dinner, lunch, on the golf course. You focus on a lean protein, a high fiber food, and a healthy fat, avocado, that goat cheese we talked about, and olive oil, versus something that's fried. Once you start continuing to make those choices, those are going to be the choices you want to make on a regular basis.
So let's take all of that a step further, Susan, because when you were starting out that explanation, you were talking about does this hurt? Does that hurt? Do your knees hurt? Do your ankles hurt? All those things. And as you were kind of going down that list, if we were on video, I would have raised my hand like, yeah, all of those things hurt. All of those things hurt, Susan. So what is causing us to have those pains so that we can get a really good idea of associating the foods we eat are causing the inflammation and the pains that we are having?
Well, I put together a food healing kitchen makeover program to where we would do a deep dive with you. I would give you a plan, be a 7-day plan. You have to be honest on the plan, but it's not a plan. And I give you a chart and you write down from your lemon shot in the morning to whether you have coffee or tea to whatever you eat and drink all day, every day for a week without changing anything. So that'd be your current diet, what you're eating and drinking from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep for 7 days. And then we look at that and we find the areas where, and we discuss, okay, you're having back pain, you're having knee pain. What's in your pantry, what's in your refrigerator, what's in your freezer, but we establish that based on your goals, what you're consuming, both drinking and what you're eating, because if when people drink a lot of sodas, or even if they're drinking carbonated waters, that's not going to be as healthy for your joints as water. So you can flavor your water with mint leaves and cucumber, lemon, lime, those types of things that help metabolize and they flavor the water so you actually want to drink it. But carbonated water is actually dehydrating to the body.
Is that right?
Yeah. So if you're drinking a lot of carbonated drinks, even carbonated low calorie, no calorie drinks, it's going to dehydrate your body and that's going to cause joint pain. When you think of the cells in your body, the cells in our body are made up of the majority of our cells are comprised of water. So if we're constantly and consistently, especially when people are on the golf course, generally you're out in the sun, you're active, and you're drinking, like you said, beer or some other cocktail. Hey, guilty. I'm not preaching to the choir. I'm just saying, but you need to layer it with just a bottle of water. One beer, one water. Okay. Even if it's one glass of water, you don't finish the whole bottle. If you have 2 beers, then drink 1 bottle. But you've got to be replacing the dehydration with good old basic water.
We've mentioned a couple of times throughout this conversation about the lemon shots that I do every morning. And again, credit all goes to you for telling me to do that. But for the folks that are listening, they may be asking, why would you do that to start your day? Explain what you get from that.
A lot of people ask me that question and they're like, oh, well, do you put ginger in it or paprika, or some people do diluted lemon? No, a pure lemon shot. I do it without fail every single morning because it stimulates. So when I wake up in the morning, I have my lemon shot by my bedside. I get out my Bible, I read my Bible, I do my lemon shot, and I start reading my Bible. I can feel my metabolism just while I'm reading my Bible. I can feel my metabolism increase because the natural heat in my body, I can feel my body temperature change. And so it's an immediate boost to your metabolism. I'm not a doctor. I do know food healing, but it does have some kind of incredible property that stimulates your immune system. I don't want to jinx myself, but I rarely, if ever, get sick. And I attribute it to my morning lemon shot, just pure lemon. And also, it stimulates your digestive system, which makes sense, right? If your metabolism is increasing, your digestive system is going to increase as well. And so you're going to have a good BH, BHBM. I haven't used that term in a while, but you're going to have a big, huge bowel movement. And when you do that, and that's when you do your lemon shot and you don't eat or drink anything else for about 20 minutes. And you just let that lemon do its thing with your metabolism, your digestive flow, and give you some of that immune boost. You'll have a big, huge bowel movement. At BHBM, you're going to poop out a bunch of toxins and fats from the day before. So that's important. You got to get rid of that. And you'll feel great. You might even lose a pant size first thing before you get on the golf course.
There you go. Are you a fan of apple cider vinegar?
I do. I don't shoot it. I did for a while. So at one point, I was eating a lot of, I love salmon. I don't know if you remember that. I eat salmon every day. 99% of the time it's grilled salmon. I do it black and broiled actually. But I was on a kick there where I was doing a lot of smoked salmon. Okay. So even though it's salmon and I love smoked salmon, but it's really not that good for you to do on a regular basis. But I was eating a lot of smoked salmon and I got this little nodule on, ironically, my middle finger on one of my hands. And I was like, that's really weird. And I was on a trip filming and there was a holistic doctor. He's more of an energy doctor and he doesn't touch you or anything, but he just kind of feels your energy. And he asked me if I was taking apple cider vinegar. And I said, yes, I am, because I had this nodule on my finger. And I said, the nodule went away. Like in like 30 days, right? Let's say 30 to 40 days. It went away from the apple cider vinegar. But he said, well, now you have too much acid in your body. And I said, oh. He said, yeah. So I said, well, I continued to take the vinegar because I wanted to prevent the nodule from coming back. And he's like, well, did you stop eating the smoked salmon? I said, yes, I did. He's like, so, and then the nodule went away. And I said, yes, it did. He's like, so you don't really need to continue putting that much acid in your body. So I say that to just caution everybody, a lot of people that do just talk to your doctor or a holistic or a nutritionist about it before you do apple cider vinegar all the time. You may be putting too much acid in your body.
You've got some recipes on your website for delicious looking pasta dishes and desserts as well, which kind of surprised me because typically that's not something we would allow ourselves on a diet or think that we're allowed to have when we're on a diet. Talk about how you're able to get those things to be healthy.
Well, the first thing is to realize that a bikini lifestyle is a lifestyle. It's not a diet. I mean, it's a diet in the sense of what you eat and drink every day is part of your diet, but it's not a diet to lose weight or whatever. So again, it's the pastas it's usually a quinoa pasta. One of my favorite dishes on my website and in my cookbook are my orzo pasta salad. I mean, it's incredible salad. It's just really delicious, beautiful, colorful. It has but it still has the healthy fats, lean proteins, high fiber foods. But you're not going to eat that every single day. So what you want to do on pasta day is you want to make that your more active day. If you're not golfing, if you're not exercising, then save the pasta for a day when you are. You're not going to eat that every single day. When it comes to dessert, yes, I make a lot of really flavorful desserts. Now, some of them on my website, I do have the worst for you on my dessert on my website is my bourbon pumpkin cheesecake, but boy, is it good. And the way you make that bikini is that came about during Thanksgiving, season one year. And I was like, I just have to make this. And my nephew wanted cheesecake. He loves cheesecake. And but it's also the portion control. So when a typical pie is 8 slices. Well, I'll slice it into 16 slices. So you're getting a smaller portion, but you're not losing any flavor. And again, you're not going to eat that every single day. I do enjoy a square, an ounce of dark chocolate in the evenings, most evenings, not every evening, but most evenings. But yeah, and it's not realistic for, I don't want to say the average person. It's just not realistic unless you are an extreme athlete that is just training for a specific high level event that requires you to really be on a very regimented diet. Let's face it, you want to enjoy the fruits of the world, the desserts, the pastas, but you're not going to eat them all the time. And you're going to make sure that the portion is realistic. So a pasta should be probably around, depending on what's male, female, your size and activity levels, but it's going to be between 4 and 8 ounces of pasta. You don't need any more pasta than that. You don't need a huge serving of dessert. You just need a taste, And when you do that, you'll actually come to appreciate it more as well because you'll feel better. Goes back to how you feel.
There you go. Susan, just a couple more before I let you go. And you are the absolute queen of the great apron design. You certainly seem like you have one for almost every occasion. Talk about styling in the kitchen and on camera with your wonderful apron collection.
When you look great, feel great, people have more fun, right? And so Couture Aprons, it's a mother-daughter design team out of, the daughter lives in Texas, mom lives in Arizona. And I was introduced to them and their Couture Aprons, and they just make these incredible aprons. And they were kind of, I think, originally meant to just kind of wow your guests, but I love cooking in them, and I haven't messed one up to date. So that I call a blessing. But yes, there's an apron for every occasion, and not only that, they'll custom make you. So they'll custom make one for you, Chris.
There you go. All right.
They will make you a men's golf apron. They will do that for you. But they use these high quality fabrics, these linen fabrics, attention to detail, even for men. Like men need some bling, right? I bet you got like a nice watch you enjoy wearing and things like that. So, men can have a little bling on their apron as well, but it's so much fun. And it just, when you dress well, whether it's in the kitchen or you make your dishes for your guest and then you put one on just, when your guests come over as a fashion plate, you feel like $1,000,000, and then your food tastes better too. So
there you go. Susan, before I let you go, remind our listeners how they can go out and get copies of your wonderful books, all the things that you also have available for people on your website, and then how they can stay up to date with you on social media as well.
I would absolutely love to help people with in their kitchens and with their health goals, whatever that may be, with my food healing kitchen makeover program. It's really a fun program, and we supervise that with your doctor. So, it's customized to you, but we want to make sure that it's in line with your health goals, and you can find that, my cookbook, aprons, my kitchen tools at thebikinishef.com. It's my website. and you just shop and got aprons, cookbooks, kitchen tools. Then in social media, on Facebook, it's at the Bikini Chef. Go and like my page. My channel on YouTube is at the Bikini Chef. I'm starting to post some really fun videos over there on YouTube channel, so check those out. And Instagram, I'm everywhere. I'm pretty much at the Bikini Chef. You can find me.
Susan, it's always so much fun when you're a part of the show, and it's informative on top of all of that. I hope we get the privilege of having you back on the show again before too long.
I just love being here. I love I don't play golf, but most of my family does. Actually, I took some golf lessons before, and they said I had a great swing, but if I'm going to spend 4 hours, I think I'm better in the kitchen. So I'll feed all you guys when you come off the golf course. How about that?
That's a deal.
Yeah, I love it. So thank you always for having me. It's so much fun. I love what you do. You're so supportive in social media channels, and you always have great information and stories to tell. So I am really appreciative and grateful for you having me back on the show, and I'll come back anytime.
Thank you so much, Susan. You're the best.
I got one more thing.
Please.
So America's Next Bikini Chef, I'm taking it online. It's going to be online, men and women cooking and fitness competition. So look out for that coming soon.
Where are we going to find it? It's going to be on YouTube?
It's going to be on YouTube and Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. So everybody around the country is that's 21 years of age and older invited to compete. And we're going to have a lot of fun. I'm really excited. So it's America's Next Bikini Chef, the online cooking and fitness competition. And we're looking to launch that in about 30, 45 days.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
I expect you to compete.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'll certainly tune in and watch. Okay. Susan, you're the best. I can't thank you enough. All the best to you and your family. I look forward to catching up with you again soon.
All right, you too. Thank you.
See you, Susan.
Bye.
That is the great Susan Irby, folks. And again, all the places, right? TheBikiniChef.com, at The Bikini Chef is where you're going to find her on YouTube and on social media. Go out there and subscribe to that YouTube channel. And go check out her website, because I'm telling you, she's got so many wonderful recipes. They're going to shock you, right? You're going to go out there and you're going to look and you're going to say, well, we're all so conditioned, if you will, in our minds to think that any sort of diet, and to Susan's point, it doesn't mean you're trying to actually lose weight. A lot of us are, but it is really a lifestyle kind of thing, right? So how do we eat healthier? How do we stay healthier? And how do we end up feeling better? Right? I loved how she talked about the correlation between the things we eat and how our bodies feel. How many of us have something, right? We have a knee injury. We have knee pain. We have hip pain. We have back pain. Well, you know what? A lot of the times it's the things we're putting into our bodies that's causing that inflammation and causing that pain. And if you're willing to make a change, and she's got, like I say, a lot of great recipes, a lot of great advice for how to do that, right? Without sacrificing flavor, without having something that is bland to eat on top of all of that, right? So that it's going to be something that you don't want to do, right? How many of us say, I'm going to start that diet up next week, right? Because we look at it in a way that makes us feel like it's going to suck. Well, you know what? She's got so many things for you that's going to make it flavorful, and it's going to make you feel satisfied and happy when you put the food in your mouth. And then later on, it's going to make your body happy. And I bet you a lot of that pain starts to go away. So go out there and check out her website. Check out her YouTube page. Make sure you subscribe to that. And then 30, 45 days from now, you're going to have something fun to watch. I mean, look, like I said at the top of the show, America's Next Bikini Chef won awards, and it was nominated for several others. There's a reason why, because it's great, it's fun, and Susan is just fantastic. We'll get her back on the show, I promise. We'll try to get her back on maybe sometime this summer to help us, remind us about the things we should and should not be eating when we're out there on the golf course. All right, my friends, it is time for me to put a bow on this episode of Next on the Tee. I want to send out my sincere thanks again to Tom Patri, Dr. Bob Winters, and Susan Irby for joining me this week. Scheduled to join me next time are The godfather of golf and talk radio, plus the host of the Augusta Golf Show, John Patrick, will be back. You guys know how great John Patrick is. And we'll also have a return visit from another great voice and personality in golf broadcasting, plus a former PGA Tour pro and a wonderful friend of this show, Frank Nobilo, will be here as well. And we'll reflect back on this year's Masters tournament. You're not going to want to miss that episode, especially if you're a Masters fanatic like I am. I also want to thank our friends again over at Trib Live for being such wonderful partners and for hosting this show on their site. For the latest news from Western Pennsylvania and beyond, including your favorite sports, go to triblive.com. You can find this show by then clicking on the sports section tab, and the most recent episode is going to be right there front and center for you on the homepage of the sports section. Or you can type in podcast.triblive.com and then click on the Next on the Tee logo, and many of the most recent episodes from this season are going to be right there for you as well. But as you guys know, you can find us pretty much everywhere you get your podcast content. Particularly, we're out there on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Good Pods, and golfnewsnet.com as well. But as always, a huge dose of vitamin G for gratitude to all of you for being the greatest supporters in the history of podcasts, barring none. I am so grateful for each and every one of you. Until next time, hit 'em straight, my friends.
Thanks for joining Chris again this week on Next on the Tee. We hope you enjoyed the conversations as much as we did. Please share the show with your golf buddies and be sure to follow it on Trib Live or your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. Thanks for pressing play and being part of the journey. We'll see you next week, right here, where the best minds in golf share their stories.